All right, folks. Now, which stream am I in right now? Bear with me here. My phone does not like being set up for streaming for 70 minutes. I'm trying to get the link to this. Okay. Yes, the stream lives. My phone is suffering. All right. I don't know if I can put a comment in the other stream with a link to this one. All right. Ay, this is confusing. All right. I'm gonna just post this to my Twitter page, so because it is a different. Tappity tap tap tappity tap tap. Okay. All right. Let me make this look a little better so you don't see my silly tripod solution of 20 manga books. Okay, there we are. How's the... Ooh, it's... Why is it all low res? 144p. I am rocking the 144p here. Oh, there we go. Hey, switch it to 720. That makes a difference. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I don't... It seems to think the other video is live too, but it is definitely not live. So, all right. I'm just going to continue from here and we'll have 2 videos. Okay. Where was I? I need a better solution. All right, what should I do with streaming equipment? What should I do? I need better equipment. I think we, let's see, there, goodbye. All right, there's my line, there's my rough. Wow, it really takes me a while to get back in action. Okay, all right, anyway, I think I was doing... All right, so yeah, I'm just gonna go through here and... All right, see, that doesn't work. That's no good. See, the thing is, these lines should be in alignment, right? Because it kind of follows the path of her ear, which goes down like that, right? So really, it should probably be maybe around there. In case you're wondering why it takes me a while to do comics, it's because I redo everything. Nah, that's not good. If I say that it's the weird angle at which I'm drawing, will you believe me? It's the old controller was broken. That's why I lost My controller broke. Yeah, sorry about the confusion. I just looked up and noticed my stream had shut off, so here we are. Live and learn. Although I haven't really learned anything because I don't know what the problem is other than my phone might not be the best way to stream. So we see how we see the inside of her ear on this side, but we don't on this side. That, that's one of those things that just comes down to, understanding your perspective and your 3D shapes. Yeah. And yeah, just making sure that these gemstones align. Does anybody know what these gemstones are supposed to be? Do they have significance? This is the kind of thing I have to learn. This is the sort of thing that will keep me up at night. What are Milla's gemstones made of? Why does she have gemstones on her ears? Why is the earth round? All right, and then this, yeah, I always get put off a little bit with this kind of thing where I can't tell how things are connecting. It drives me nuts because I haven't drawn this character from other poses. This is the first time I've ever drawn this character, so but it's really the only way to learn is just to go through and get going on it. Yeah, bracelets are apparently part of her ability to summon cubes. Oh yeah, right. Now again, you got to remember I haven't played her campaign yet. All right, so she's got her vest. I didn't work all this stuff out, but you got to like even the way that it connects together. I want to be thinking about that. I played a little bit of a game today for a break that was Solo to Robo. That is a really tricky name to say, but it's a really fun game. It's for the DS, and it's quite hard to find now. So, fortunately, I found that one a long time ago. It has really neat designs. Also, kind of anthropomorphized animal characters. I guess it's related to a series called Tail Concerto, or I don't know if it's the series called Tail Concerto, or just that was the name of the game on the PS1. Okay, now you notice that I drew this right through. Yeah, I'm like this is just how I work because I'm working digitally, right? So I'll erase the line, and then I'll bring in the other parts. See how I just kind of push down a little harder here, and that's giving me a bit more weight on the line there. Freedom Planet is like with Yuka, since I put basically everything into the in terms of I'm not using like comic color black, like sort of where you get the black fills and everything that you get with a comic. I'm not doing that with Yuka. All of the Yuka is just really lush. It's really lushly organic in terms of its rendering. So it has a very, very, very organic style. So I don't actually do fills. Like here, the way that I'm doing this on her, I wouldn't do that on Yuka. Because I would put that actually in the shadow. Let's see. Shadowhawk says, "Why is my precious rocket jet drifting off into deep space? Why? I think it might be. You might have lost some sleep. You might want to get some sleep. Let's see. This is dank lore from the dev. It's never mentioned in the game. I figured the bracelet angle symbol related to a murder accused. It's just my headcanon. I know Strife has put out lore on the forums that aren't present elsewhere. Yes, I will be having a conversation with him about all of this. I'm hoping Freedom Planet 2 gives us more Milla lore. I am hoping the book, not that I'm doing one, just saying, if we did a book, if we were to do a book, I would hope that it would give us more Milla lore. I'm also hoping that there's an opportunity to explore a little bit more into the kind of the alien elements. But I'm a very character centric storyteller. I like to focus on characters. It's really what I guess I do best. So whatever we do, it's got to be a story that has, not that we're doing anything, I'm just saying, if there was to be a book, it's how I'd want to do it. I know I'm playing coy, but I've been pretty public about my interest in doing a Freedom Planet book. However, I do mean that actually, because a lot of times these projects fall through. It's just the way it is. I've gotten very used to casting the net. Casting a net. I cast the net. All over the place. And then if something works, some relationship works, it's great. And I got very lucky with Platonic to do ukulele. Oh wait, hang on. I take advantage of this to hawk my book onto you. So yeah, you should go pre-order my book because it's going to be amazing, and we're doing this insane physical edition that's going to be gorgeous. I'm putting the whole 9 yards. It's a hardcover. It has embossing and foil stamping. It has like a holographic foil. I don't know if any of you know what Working Designs was, but it was a Japanese RPG localization company that is now defunct. And they put out the most incredible packaging for their games. I gotta see what's going on here. Always getting lost with the clothing. So I took some inspiration from them actually, because they really did an amazing job. Whoops, you know what? I screwed something up here. There's not supposed to be a lip on this side of the vest, but there is around the arms. So actually, this is backwards up here too. Bear with me. Yeah, because you got to match the other side here, right? Something like that. That seems about right. And you notice that I'm actually very conscious about closing these gaps. And part of that is because of how I color. One of the few ways that I have to speed up production, because there really aren't too many, because everything takes so long, is to make sure that I have enclosed regions. Let's pop out the arm a little bit here, or the vest rather. Because with the enclosed regions, and you're going to see in a minute if the stream doesn't cut out on me again, how wonderfully easy it is to do color fills in Procreate. That's a little messy, isn't it? But I leave it alone. This is one of those things. Leave it alone and I come back to it. All right, her legs are still confusing to me because she's got this kind of funky... See, you know why I'm having a little bit of trouble with the legs is that her pants are really bulky, and because we're looking at him, like we're seeing her leg here, right, in the foreground, and then we're going to see kind of the bulk of the kind of bunched up. Realistically, we would probably see a bunch of folds because, we're seeing it from an angle, like right from the front. So, but if I draw too many lines like that, it's just going to be a mess. And so this is one of those things where I just kind of have to try a few ideas, and because I haven't drawn her yet, I haven't figured out a way to do this. So I'll just first of all, what I'm going to do is get the foreground elements in down here. Her cube of power bracelets. Now I know what they are. Thank you. That seems about right. Now with her toes, does she? What does she have with her toes? Does she have little sharp? No, she's just got little rounded toes. There's no like nails or anything like that. All right. So because this is one of those things that because we're in perspective, kind of close to the ground, like the camera, if you can think about where the camera's positioned, it's pretty close to the ground. System 509 says, Freedom Planet has such potential for extra media beyond the games. Definitely. Yes. Yes. I see this being just a world that can keep expanding and expanding. And it's great because it seems to have a really cool fan base that really seems to love it. From my perspective, I mean, like, it's fun too because, in the process of producing art and kind of reaching out to these various gaming communities that would like to see their games turned into Game Legends books, trying to find kind of the ones where people are the most enthusiastic, and I definitely have gotten the strongest response from the Freedom Planet community. And Steven has been amazing because he's very he's been very easy to talk to about ideas, and he's very open-minded about stuff that we can do, while also being extremely thorough in what he thinks is important to bring into a book. Not that we're doing one. See here, I actually changed the position in these a little bit. Spread her arms a little bit, which causes some unique challenges here because I want to make sure that we're not crowding out too much of these lines, that they're not getting too close together. Because one of the advantages I had on the rough was that they overlapped a little bit. But this overlap is actually pretty congested. I kind of like having that extra space down there. That's about where the leg connects. Right around there. Now, if her chest is popping out like this, it's actually going to overlap her arm all the way down. Because she's kind of got that belly, she's got the baby fat kind of, but it's not quite that pronounced. Okay. Does that look about right? Can't tell. Chubby puppy belly. Yes. Oh my god. They are very cute. If you've ever seen a shaved dog belly, like a puppy belly, because sometimes if the vet has to do an operation on a dog, they'll shave the belly, and it's just like dough. It's like soft doggy belly dough. It's very cute. I guess it depends on the dog. I was never really much of a pet person. I know that apparently these days that makes me a bad person, but I just wasn't. We had dogs growing up. When I was really little, there was a cat who did not like me. This lake is too high. This is one of those things that you would see when you flip. I'm pretty happy with how that looks flipped. I don't know about Netflix and kid shows. I don't tend to watch those on there all that much. Yeah, I haven't actually seen much on Netflix in terms of kid shows. That's actually another thing, and this, depending on the fan base of a particular game, they either like this or don't like it. But I really like the idea of making comics, at least up front, that are very not very, just are at least somewhat readable, approachable for kids. Because there's a lot, I always thought that comics, like I loved having comics when I was a kid. of course, I did read a lot of, we'll say more. Well, I had a big range of stuff. Like I discovered a lot of manga when I was a kid, and when I back in my day, it was a lot harder to find manga. Really, that was not so much an industry yet in the states like it is now. So you kind of just had to go to these comic stores and just whatever they had. Like it didn't matter what it was. If it was manga, I remember the first time I discovered a. Um, I think it was the first time I saw something that I recognized specifically as being an anime production, and it was Bubblegum Crash. Specifically, it was the third episode of Bubblegum Crash, which is related to the Bubblegum Crisis series. And I remember finding the video for it in the box. There's something about the box. It looks so. It just didn't look exciting to me at all. I got the angle of her butt wrong. It's more like that. Yeah. It just didn't look exciting to me in the least. And then I put the video in, and it was like the doors of heaven opened up. I was so blown away by it. Like I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was so wonderfully beautiful. One of my favorite writers once said, if you introduce kids to good television at a young age, they'll grow up to expect it, and that raises the bar significantly. Well, that does make sense. I don't know about her foot. I don't know about her toes. I gotta learn about her toes. I've got to learn about toes. I haven't really drawn paw, feet much, so if this looks bad, then bear with me. All right, now I actually do a little bit of extra work on the line to try and amplify certain areas. I do tend to kind of amplify the perimeter of things, and also wherever there's going to be shadow. Like right here, there's a bit of overlap, but I'll kind of go over the outline or the contour of it a little bit, which is its extents, kind of the outer silhouette of it, because I find that helps draw the whole thing together. Helps just bring it together. Still getting used to this calligraphy brush. For Yuka, I'm not using a calligraphy brush. Wait, I didn't put a link to my store, so you can all go buy my book. You should buy my book. Let me put a link in here. It's in pre-order right now. I'm supposed to do this. Everyone tells me I'm supposed to promote myself. There you go. There you go. All right. Yuka is 120. Right now it's 120 pages, but I think the book is actually going to end up being 128 pages, which is longer than I had planned for the Kickstarter campaign. And that's because I just packed it full of goodies. And it does have a longer ending than I had been originally planning. And the big part of that is because of the support of backers, which is a really big deal. I know Kickstarter has a bit of a reputation, and that's a hard thing to deal with, and it's a shame because there are a lot of people who, want to use Kickstarter because it allows for freedom, but sometimes when people kind of don't follow through on their promises to backers, that it kind of hurts the reputation of the platform makes it so that people don't trust it. And I understand that. I don't really back a lot of things on Kickstarter myself, but I do believe in the platform and crowdfunding in general because I like being able to just make something directly for a group, and I'm not trying to sell millions of books. But I can tell you this, if I sold 1 million books with a traditional publisher these days, I think I would probably make an average salary. like, like there's so little money with traditional publishing. It's kind of ridiculous. And it's not because of greed or anything on the part of publishers, or it's just the system is kind of it's just it doesn't quite work like it used to. There's so many people along the way that have to get paid, and there just isn't that much money in the the market for books. So I figure, look, I'd rather just work with a small community of people who want, really want to see something that they love turned into a book, and that's what Game Legends is all about. Specific games, and bringing what I loved about them, and hopefully what other people love about them. So, in the event that I were to ever do a Freedom Planet book, not that that's happening, it would be really awesome to be able to get some information from the community, because while I can play the game, there are people who have been involved with Freedom Planet for years and really, really know the world, really know the characters, and I want to make sure that people like what I'm doing. I don't want it to be something that the community does not like, or it feels like I'm coming in and just taking over something that they really love. That's not going to happen. Hope that makes sense. Let me see. Another nitpick, but her left, our right. Leg doesn't seem to have a pant sleeve. Oh. Yes. Whoops. Good eye. All right. Should probably put that in, huh? So she's not naked on one side. All right. Yeah. So it's really tricky because of how her pants bunch up. We would actually see the pants, like we would probably see a little bit of it here. That's not so much a nitpick as it is a very important point, so thank you. All right, I'm just gonna visually cheat it here, so we can get the pant in there. So the position of it is a little bit up in the air, like just because of the angle, it's kind of hard to know exactly what her pants would look like, because they're all bumpy. But I think that's about right. Just because I could probably go on forever here, I'm gonna jump into doing some color stuff here, because this is probably a good time to do so. Let me just make sure everything's closed up here. There are great features in programs like Clip Studio, which I use primarily for the color work on the actual comics, such as gap closers, things like that, where even if you have an opening, it'll still find a way to, it'll see the gap as, it'll close the gap depending on your setting. Maybe I should indicate a little bit of just some internal lines here for the tail, just to get that bushiness. Kind of looks like a flame. Really need to clean up a lot of this stuff, because this will affect the way that color is taken to it. And the more work I can do in the line art, the less work I have in the coloring phase, and vice versa. So if I want to, it kind of just depends where I want to spend my time. Do you ever get so engrossed in something you're working on that you forget to eat? Yeah. Yeah, I do. It depends. It depends. I mean, for me, that used to happen more than it happens now. I think just because I've gotten kind of used to a routine. So I think when you get into a routine, you're kind of just automatically on a structure every day, and you're like, okay, now's the time that I have to eat. Eating is really annoying. It's great, but it's a really annoying thing we have to do because it just gets in the way. And it's not, it's like, oh, I think, oh, I draw so much, I sit in front of the computer so much working on stuff that if I were to, take a break, I'd want it to be like doing exercise or something that would make me feel better. But eating doesn't really do that. Eating doesn't help me lose weight. It's like, why am I wasting my time eating food? I don't have time for that. All right, that might be good. I'm going to turn off. No, I hate this phase. I hate turning off the rough and looking at the line because I'm aware now of what I've lost. Where I've spent my time in the line versus where I've or in the rough, and I don't necessarily see that reflected in the ink line. So there's a few things that I do to just kind of clean up the ink line and try and bring attention to where I want it. I never feel like I'm using programs the right way. I always feel like there's a smarter way to do everything I'm trying to do. Like it's one of the funny things about these streams is I'm waiting for people to laugh at my method and be like, why are you doing it that way? And then I can say, oh, I've done it that way for years. And then I realize how much time I could have saved if I knew a better technique for doing things. But one of the things you learn when you've been doing this stuff for a while, she's got this, I think these are just highlights. There's a difference between like light highlights and actual color highlights because I can create like a little section for a different color, which is kind of an animation technique. But sometimes there are better ways of doing things, but the truth is that it takes time to figure out these better ways, and everything takes time, right? There might be a more intelligent way of doing something, but in the process of switching over to that better way, I'll actually spend more time than I need to spend on it. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's a dumb way of doing things, but I'm just going to go through and do it this way anyway because it's what I know, and I know that I can get it done pretty quickly. And then I'll go through and figure out. This pen, I'm realizing, is not that opaque. So I'm getting all these noisy bits that I got to clean up now. Because you can't have these in the fill color phase or they'll cause problems for you. So we might have a few of those in there, but I'm okay with that. All right, here comes the really fun part. And by fun, I mean fun for a while. What I'm going to do is this ink line layer, I'm going to click on this and click reference. And now what happens is when I do a color, kind of like when I was dragging the color down, it's going to use this line as a reference, but I can actually do this on a separate layer. So I'm going to make a new layer, and then I'm going to keep these colors here, because what I can do is just pick the color right from here and put it in here, because it's basically what I want to do. So I have to click. This is an awkward stretch. All right, I'm going to click this little square over here, and that allows me to click on a particular area. You can see up here, it changed the color. So now I can drag it into the face. But what I actually do is I use the selection tool, which is up here. Change it to automatic. Now this is a really cool thing with Procreate. So I can click and it will begin to select an area, and I can drag the pen back and it will isolate, like the skin area, for example. And I can just keep adding to the selection. Now you can see you get a little breakthrough here because I don't have a closed line here for that. So with my color here, I'm just gonna go in here and click fill, and there we go. That's so now that's filled with that color. Looks weird because we're seeing contrasting colors. This looks darker than this, doesn't it? But that's actually the right color. All right, and then I'll just go through and do this bit by bit. Now, because this is rendered, I'm just going to have to kind of make an intelligent guess on the best color for each area. All right, so here's her hair. And then in some cases, you might find, like, see how we're getting a little bit of ghosting in here? It's not going all the way to the end. That's because up here, I have a really thin line. And there's even a gap here. So, like, I'm going to go back through and clean that up a little bit. And this is something that you have to do as you go. It just takes time, but it's You don't have to do it, but the problem is if I don't do this, then the color is not going to go under the line enough. All right, and that's kind of a big deal because I want it to make sure that it's overshooting the line, which is why I'm dragging it over to the right like this. And we got the eyebrows, I think, are the same colors. Can't forget these little guys here. All right, and then her tail is white. Only her hair here is this orange color, which is interesting. All right, so we'll switch over. Sorry, this is really an awkward position I'm working in here. And I'm actually going to switch to the brush. And I'm just gonna do it like this because that locks it in. Pretty rad, huh? All right. I have her kneeling down in the video I'm making, and her leg reins clip through her pants constantly. Yes, that's one of the problems with 3D. Blue Milla, original character, do not steal. Yeah. I mean, Freedom Planet 1 was originally going to have palette swaps. Wouldn't get Blue Milla, but blue-haired Milla, sure. If anyone should be blue, it should be lilac anyways. Yeah, I actually like to use color gradients. So I'm doing flat colors here, but the color gradients are really kind of an amazing thing. It adds a lot of life to the colors. All right, so I'm just going to go in and select all the areas that, and it's okay if you miss some here and there. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just need it to be. Yeah, I can forget some areas is what I mean, because I can always come back to it later. Don't forget the neck. All right, and then we'll make sure to select this color and go ahead and fill. I just have this brush turned with the opacity all the way up, so I'm going to get a total fill here. All right, let's do the vest. Let me know if I'm talking too close to the mic. That always drives me nuts when other people do that. We got a weird line here. What is going on here? Oh, I'll figure that out later. All right, the vest is going to be, I'm going to use that color there. And, these might differentiate a little bit from the, so we got the pants. This is the shadow color, right? So the base pants are actually this lighter tone, the jumpsuit, rather. I think that's what it is, right? It's a jumpsuit. Is that about right? Romper? I don't know. I don't know my clothes. Looks like they should come through the, oh, you know what? I think that's actually what this little lip is. Actually let me make the lip part of the romper. Jumper, jumpsuit, romper, whatever. This thing that I'm drawing. This process does go faster when I'm not live streaming. It's tough to find a balance with these things. Usually I kind of just buckle in and get to it. I'm just going to use the pen. Oh, I can't. I got to hold the button in. All right, let me find I'm going to change this green color because I can't get an even selection on the green. I want, usually what I do with like eyes and the gem, that's gonna require a unique coloring. If you want to add to the selection, if you deselect and then you hold the pen onto it, it'll reselect what you had selected before, and then you can add to it. Because I'm actually going to add the same green color. This is where I take a little bit of creative license with this. Because the way that I color eyes is a little bit different. With these selected, I can actually just show you right now. I'll do, am I in the right layer? Oh, nuts. Oh, yeah, eyes was on the wrong layer. Oh, it's the worst. I gotta undo all this. Luckily with Procreate, you can go back. That's why I got that weird line. This is the way this goes. Just the way it goes. I can get mad about it, or I can just hurry up and redo it. Isn't that annoying? I hate that. Sometimes I get so far into something before realizing that I was on the wrong layer. It's very easy to do. It's just really easy to do. But it's okay. We'll go faster now, right? Because I'm sorry if I'm shaking the camera. It's because I'm hitting my stack of manga tripod. Forgot this. Film. All right, let's do the part that is dark. The thing she's wearing that is dark. That's what I'm going to call it. What is it called? I should probably look at the comments. Somebody tell me what this is called so I can stop sounding like an idiot about that. I'm paranoid now. I got to keep checking to make sure I'm on the right layer. You can also lock layers so that you don't accidentally do that. I guess I should probably do that. I'm going to lock this. Where is the lock layer? Oh, we got to do this, I think. There it is. Lock. All right, now I can't adjust that layer. She's an alchemist. What is the thing she's wearing? I'm not sure. Something between a romper, a jumpsuit, or what? Yeah. So, some kind of monk in Freedom Planet too. Really? Every 2 days I watch stream has had happen at some point. Yeah. Oh, God, it's the worst. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Sometimes when I forget something like this, I just come in with a paint tool, and I don't even bother with the selection. You know, the selection is really nice for speeding up the process of picking a layer. You can see here I've got, this is actually not getting in here very well. It doesn't actually matter if I go over the lines too for areas that I haven't yet colored. And these are kind of I think these might even be the same color. I think they're just a little bit lighter because they're in light. I'm trying to create a visual separation. I'm make sure that the threshold is high enough. I don't know if you can see this, but this is 80%. You can keep climbing. What I do is I basically just move that up until it goes outside what I'm trying to select. And that way I get as much coverage as I can, which is a big deal because you got to make sure that you're getting under the line, because for printing that can be a problem if the layers get offset. All right, let's do the green again. I'll just pick the closest one, and then I blow up the colors for eyes. Eyes are something where I really want them to be. Doesn't that look weird? What is going on? Why is that not? There we go. I like making very colorful eyes. It's the part that we look at first. So they should be well done and attractive, because otherwise, and you know, attractive can mean a lot of things. I don't necessarily mean beautiful, just something that should attract the eye one way or the other. She's got a black nose, doesn't she? Can't tell if she has a black nose because she's supposed to have a black nose, or if it's because these drawings are just so small. You know, the nose is so small in the drawings that it appears black. But I'm actually going to give it a little bit of a color. I might just go into kind of a creative license here. I'm just going to lighten her nose a little bit. Maybe do a green. What do you think? Green nose? I kind of just want to give her a pink nose. I'm assuming that she's smiling with her teeth clenched, but I'm actually thinking as I'm looking at this, I might want to have to unlock the layer. I always forget. Half the reason that's why I don't lock it. I don't know if I want to show her teeth. I guess she's got her teeth clenched. That probably looks best for this. I'll just sharpen that line a little bit. And let's get in here. Put, indicate the top and the bottom teeth coming together. That'll make it really clear what's going on with her expression. See, that helps. Isn't this fun? You can do this. You probably are doing this. See what it looks like without the line on is we're not like going all the way through. So this is a way that can be a little bit dangerous. Like if you turn the line down though, you can see that there's a bit of an overlap, right? It's not like see the orange here? See how it goes just a little bit beyond the black? That's going to be good for printing. Because if the black is like totally black, which it's actually not, but I'm not doing this for print. This is just for fun. If the black is totally black, it'll be on its own black print process on a 4-color press. That's something we'll talk about in the future because that's a fun thing that I'm learning about. You know what else I'm realizing is she's got this pink inner ear. I want to create like a little section for that in here so it's not, I don't know, maybe something like that. Just like inside here will be pink so we get just a little bit of the lighter color just sort of has a lip for the ear because I think that'll look better. Of course, I just messed up the color, so because I'm doing this faster method of coloring, and we'll section that for the pink. I'm gonna kind of start to just in the interest of time, I'm gonna kind of pick my own colors here. All right, and then we'll use the same orange for the gems. Although, wait, she's got, oh, yeah, they invert. That's neat. So they're orange. These two are orange. And these two are green. Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay, and then I'm gonna use the selection freehand tool. You can paint with this, or you can just do it freehand. Doesn't really matter, whichever works. And I'll just make a selection like this. Come in with white and fill. This is gonna go over the green, but that's okay. I'll just redo the green. All right. So there we get the white of the eye. All right. This is a fun part. Let's see. All right. For Milla, both would be gray, black. I don't want to seem like a troll, but she kind of looks like a boy to me. That's all right. Oh, I mean, interesting thing about that. Yeah, part of this is really learning the character. Somebody left a comment on a ukulele video I had saying that he didn't like the character redesigns, and I thought, that's interesting because, so what I can do is do what I think is right as an artist. It's not always going to jive with what people want to see, but I do like to really like I know a lot of people say this, but it's extremely important. I'm extremely focused on what fans of the particular game want. That's really, really important. But that's also really hard to balance because everybody wants something a little different. Like somebody will say that they like something, someone will say they hate it, and I can't really find a perfect balance there. So generally what I have to do is go with what I think is the best decision, but that doesn't mean that I don't really stress out over making sure that people like whatever it is that I'm doing and they feel that it's the right direction with the character. So a huge part of that is just trying it out, learning as you go, and I'll get to know the character better and better. All right, I'm going to turn the opacity down to about halfway, and I'm going to do a shadow layer now. So if you've done any character art or anything like this with these programs before, you know that you can make another layer and change the layer style to multiply. And so what it will do is anything that I do in this layer, it'll add it on top and sort of darken, so I can create a shadow layer. So when I'm doing shadows, a lot of times, I'm going to turn it down really low. So a lot of times when I'm doing shadows, I'll just paint them in, and depending on whether or not I'm trying to be very clean. In this case, I am trying to be clean, so I'm gonna make an isolated selection here. on the face, and I'm going to bring in the eyebrows as well, because they should be, actually, I'm just going to pretty much select all the areas of the face and the nose. There we go. So now when I do a shadow, when I paint in here, see, it's going to cover like the eyes in addition, right? Because they, she has these like serious eyelashes, so they would cast pretty deep shadows over the eye. And I break the shadows up into sections, so like I'll do, right now I'm just kind of getting the general positioning of shadow on her face. I don't know about you, but I'm having a ton of fun streaming. I gotta do more of these. Would you come back if I did more? Hope so. I don't want to be the only one here. It's really, really lonely. All right. And just think what you can learn. So this is, a lot of this just comes from just understanding your 3D forms. You've got to just know how your 3D forms work. And if the more you practice with it, the more you do drawing, and just draw. It doesn't really matter what you draw, but I do recommend, if you want to learn the fastest, do figure drawing. Draw the human body, because it's really hard. And it's also something that we recognize, right? So it's such a challenge because everybody can tell when your figure drawings are off a little bit. I do like to do something that is kind of a gaming, or I guess a CG term called ambient occlusion, where I sort of create a general kind of soft darkening in areas where things are kind of coming together. And this depends on the style of what I'm producing too, because I do think with Freedom Planet, I probably would want to do a much more graphic style than with Yucca, to kind of match what the game does, just to make sure it has that kind of fun. But another reason for that too is just I do think it kind of suits it the best, than doing more of the kind of fine rendering like in Yucca. So here, I'm kind of popping her nose out here. So since her nose protrudes a little bit, I'm eating out of the shadow here. And shadows also are subject to the same, like, you got to be careful with the tangents and everything. Make sure shadows don't like come into contact with the line and all that. The more I zoom in the model's face, it looks like a boy. Oh god, now I can't unsee it. Yeah, sorry about that. The inner ear was pink on that artwork, but it was gray, and our FP1 sprite. Probably a palette limitation since it was pink in other FP1 art. Maybe they should have made her eyelashes longer, because now it's not going away. I can definitely lengthen her eyelashes. It might be the giant eyebrows. They have girls with eyebrows too. Being lonely is why I stopped streaming my own animations. No one ever showed up on Twitch, and YouTube streaming never worked well. Yeah. It's tricky. There's so much. We do a lot of work with this stuff, and it's exciting, but if people don't see it, it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, it's obviously you get the finished thing of whatever it is that you're doing. And if you're working in a studio environment like I was with Insomniac, look at this. I'm going to do a soft gradient shadow here on her eye. And this is going to give it a lot of realism. I had to do a manual selection here for this part, though, and I need to clean this up. So I'll come in here with a really tiny brush and just get that shadow into where the skin comes into contact with the eye. Look at that. That's pretty neat, huh? Whoops. Only the eye. So just doing a soft gradient there for that. Again, I probably wouldn't do this with a Freedom Planet book, if I ever were to do one. Not that I am. And sometimes with some of the stuff, you just kind of rough it in. It's not going to be any easier or harder if I make selections for some of this stuff, Find the iPad does not always do what I tell it to do with zooming. But for the most part, it works really well. Got to be careful with the shadow under the lips. As I said before, lips are really, really hard to do. But another reason that shadows are really kind of dangerous is because they start giving the lips a very realistic look, which can be useful. But you just understand your style. Like, what is it you're trying to do? And you notice that I don't draw the lips like in lines, especially in this style, because it's going to make them look really weird. Who played Skyward Sword? Link had like lines indicating the lips on there, and it made his facial expressions kind of strange to me. You gotta. There's a subtlety that's required for this stuff, and really nothing requires more subtlety than cute kids. Like if you're drawing like a cute kid or an elegant face or like a very sort of if you're trying to make a very like attractive face or beautiful face, whatever, you have to really really be careful being things out of line, and man, you just ruin the whole thing. So it's really worth it to kind of spend the time that the face needs, and if you need to, look, you can make everything else go quickly, but spend the time on the face and the hands. Don't forget about the hands. She's got this really cartoony kind of big chunky hair. Sometimes when I'm painting shadows too, I'll pull out of the shadow just as often as I'm actually painting it in. So I'll just kind of go in after the fact and just draw in sections that get taken out. And you'll find what I'm going to do here is I'm starting to kind of paint in. I might paint in actually a few strands here in shadow that were not indicated in the line, right? And it can be, this is one of those things that you kind of get used to over time, is knowing where you want to put some of these. And I'm just roughing them in here right now. I'll make them a little bit clearer as we go. But hair, especially if she's going to look a little rambunctious, she kind of has that like Dougie, look that's a little bit, she's playful, right? She's got that kind of playful expression. It would be good to kind of have a little bit of an indication of the hair being a bit askew. That's a good word. I find myself using the word askew a lot. It's not the word I would think to use, but I catch myself saying askew. Do you ever say askew? Yeah, see how I'm actually pulling out the shapes, but I want to keep them graphic. I want to keep the shapes interesting. That, what I said earlier about shapes being really important, that doesn't change at any phase. It doesn't change. It's not just about the line. It's everything. See how I pull out, and that lets me keep these sharp angles like that too. So it still stays graphic and cartoony, but it does have a little bit of a softness to it. It's got that nice rendered quality. This is the thing that I'm convinced that a lot more artists would like to do for comics if they had the time and budget. And that's one of the reasons it's so important. Here it comes again. You ready? I'm going to hawk my work again. This is why it's so important to buy things directly, like my book, Ukulele and the Cracklestone, because when you buy directly, the simple truth is that the creator makes more money on it. And if you make more money on it, then you're that much closer to being able to make a living doing it. And if you can't make a living doing it, that means that you have to work another job. And if you have to work another job, then you can't spend the time needed, and everything gets rushed, and you're always working in your tired hours to get the stuff put together. And I think that's what happens with a lot of comics these days, because there's so little money in comics, and I'm trying to, I don't want to sound, how do I put this without sounding, every time I say this, I either sound crazy or arrogant, but I'm trying to kind of reset the industry a little bit, because I think it needs a big reset, because everyone's rushing to, it's like look at what we have. We have Amazon, which is a great thing. Like, Amazon's cool, and it gives everybody, their stuff the cheapest. It's great, but the problem with Amazon is, let's say I put my book on Amazon, and I sell my book on my store, right? If I sell my book on Amazon, more people will find it, but I have to pay for a distributor. I have to pay for, I have to pay, a fee to Amazon. I have to pay. Usually, I'll be with a publisher. Like if I'm going to be getting mainstream distribution on Amazon, which I did have the option of, by the way, with Yuka. The truth is that yeah, you'd sell more books, but you wouldn't make any money on it. And who's going to buy the book directly from me if they get it on Amazon? You know, like they trust Amazon. They don't trust my private website. But if you buy directly from the artist, it makes a big difference. So I think it's important that people figure out ways to incentivize people to buy from the artist, and that's why I have a lot of special stuff. If you look at the Yuka backer kit page, I've got pins and an art print pack and a number of other specialty items that you can only get through the direct sales. So, and Yuka is of course the first of many that I want to do. Not that Freedom Planet is one of the other ones that I want to do. I'm not saying that at all. Let's see. If I didn't have a 500-pound bill coming up in a couple weeks, I'd totally buy it right now. I will count that as a promise that you will be a huge supporter in the future. No, of course it's cool. Just wait until somebody steals it and loads it up on as a PDF online. But we're gonna do a yes. Don't waste your money that you need on important things on my stuff. This is luxury stuff. This is not important stuff. It's important, but for different reasons. Different reasons. Got to pay the bills first. But I do think that the industry really needs a reset. And a huge part of that is providing people with what I want to see. My book, right? Like my book, if you get the base book, is $30. It's a $30 hardcover, which is fairly typical for what I'm releasing. Like I did price it based on what I see, in stores, and kind of typical for other books that are like that. But when you hold Yuka in your hands, you're going to feel like you should have paid more money, because it's going to feel like a $50, maybe $60 book, because we're doing some crazy stuff on it. We're doing sculptural debossing and holographic foil on the cover, and it's going to look amazing. So if you don't know what sculptural debossing is, it's sort of like, imagine that somebody made a clay sculpture right on the front of it, like of the picture, but like a relief, so it pops out a little bit and you can actually feel the design. And then on that, there's also a transparent holographic foil that gives it like a kind of a rainbow shimmer. I'm doing this with all of these books. So that's why I referenced Working Designs, because they did stuff like that was so cool. So they're going to be immensely collectible. And because of their rarity, which, at least up front, what I'm doing right now, I've got a small following of people that are buying this stuff. We did have a successful Kickstarter, and it raised, a good amount. We had about 1,000 people backing the project, which I'm really happy with. And if any of you are one of those backers, I really can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But it's still a small crew, which is kind of nice, to be honest. I think what my goal is to try and get to 2,000 people. If I can get to 2,000 people, that's all I ever need. I don't need to sell 1,000,000 books, but I do want to get to 2,000 people, because if I can reach that, then this is something I can consistently do for a living. And that's really not that many books worldwide. And I promise to do the effort needed to make them rock. They will rock. You won't get this kind of love and care from mainstream publishers. Not to knock them, just the way it is. They're not going to spend the time and invest the money. They're certainly not going to do the kind of collector's editions that I'm doing. No way. In fact, I talked to a few publishers at one point. One of them was really interested in Yuka and also Dreamside. And I told him, I said, look, one thing that's really important to me is I want to do this crazy hardbound that's going to be super, super awesome, really collectible. And he was telling me, they would do like a softbound hardcover or softbound rather book first, and then they would see how it sells, and then they would do a hardbound. And I said, that is so backwards. First of all, I'm not doing a softbound because first of all, I hate softbounds. I hate them. They're just crap. They're so bad. They fall apart. They don't last. They have glued, what they call perfect bindings, which it's just the worst. It's just the worst. Look, if somebody picks up a book that is a really high quality hardcover, they're going to feel it in the experience of reading the story. It's going to make a big difference. And I want to give backers and customers in general who buy the book, I want to give them that amazing experience. So I'm just kind of running away here with this. I get sucked into what I'm doing here and forgetting to eat, right? I need to know what this line is. It's kind of driving me nuts. What is going on here? You probably can't even see that. It's gone now. Look at this. I got a mess here. This is why you have to be careful with these unique brushes. Look at that. That can stay in there. It doesn't have to be cut, but it would be helpful if it did. So because it's probably getting up there. Where are we? It's 11:30 where I am. 11:30. I'm gonna do a couple more things here, then I'm probably gonna sign off, and then we can do another one of these, and I can finish this up so you can see how it works. But I want to show you some of the gradient stuff that I do. Milla has, she's got like this beige colored skin, and I assume it's supposed to be like dog fur, but it's one thing that I really like to add is kind of just a little bit of redness in the face, like even if it's subtle. So I'll make a new layer, and I'm going to do this underneath the multiply layer. I'm going to switch it to an overlay. Where's overlay? There we are. And so what overlay is going to do is it's going to add, it's going to kind of compound on top. I'll just switch this to more of a red. I'll blow this up a little bit and use a very soft application. And I'm just going to go over the cheeks. Going to add just a little bit of that color in there. I wonder if this is even showing up online. You know what? I'm actually not going to do an overlay layer. I'm going to change this to. Wait a minute. Goodbye. All right, new layer. I'm going to use pink, actually. Just a little bit of pink. All right. Because if you put a little bit of life in the cheeks like this, it's going to overlap her eye here because of that lack of line. Put a little bit around the nose. It just adds a little bit of life. It might not be the right color, but I can change that. And get a little bit around the lips as well. That might be a little weird. It's a lot easier to see what you have to take out once you put something down. Well, obviously to take out, but I mean, if you don't know if something's going to work, just put it down on the canvas, because if you don't put it down, you can't. It's very, very hard for me to visualize things if I don't put it down first. So I'll do a little bit more of the gradient stuff that I want to do. Actually, I'll show you in the hair, because the hair really comes alive with a gradient. This is something really amazing. So I'm gonna actually have her color go toward red, because she's got the pink in the ears, and what I can do is I can have it go toward yellow. So I pick the color of the hair, and then I just slide it over a little bit to make a very similar color, but not exactly the same. And I do this also on a separate layer. And what I do is I basically just do kind of a soft flow from, for each section of an area. So like, yeah, I don't think yellow is the right color, actually. Let me see. And for areas like this, I have to do a manual selection because the line is not closed up. Once again, really helps to just develop the develop a lot of, just practice a lot with making your selection, or just using digital tools in general, and you'll be able to make those selections a lot easier. Let me go to hue saturation, and I can make an adjustment here, and we can kind of change the color here. So let me see what happens if I go toward a kind of more of a bolder reddish color. Just a slightly more intense. Actually, it's really just a more intense orange, I'm thinking. Let me think about that. I might actually want to go, I might want to change her normal hair color, actually. So in order to do that, by the way, I make the reference layer, I switch the reference layer to the color. And this way I can pick everything that has this one color because it's flat, right? So I can make a pretty quick selection. This is not as fast as you can do in, say, Photoshop or Clip Studio. But that way I can make a selection of that section there. Sometimes when I'm making those selections and it does a different color, I end up thinking I like it a lot better. It's neat to see the blue hair color. So yeah, and now I'll actually change this to yellow because I think that now this, whoops. Now I actually think this will benefit from yellow. But then it looks like she sort of has highlights a little bit. And I'll do the same thing down here. I haven't even gotten to the gems or anything, which is a really cool process. Just to make things kind of look like there's light passing through them. They're kind of a transparent material. Yeah. That is pretty cool. We can do the cowlicks as well. So it kind of, it just gives it a little bit more fun, And if you really want to get ambitious with the stuff, you can come in and, get like these individual pieces here that are within the hair. It adds a lot, but it takes a lot of time too. So if you're crazy like I am, you'll do it. As soon as I see something that I think looks halfway decent, it's like I just do it. So, but I'm gonna undo that for now for this. All right, and then last thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you how I add a lot of life to the eyes here. Simple way. First of all, I'll isolate the green. Okay, I'll pick the light color of the green. All right, and then I'll change it to a deeper version, and I actually tint it a little bit. So I'll probably tint it more toward blue. So it's kind of an aqua, like a dark aquamarine. And then I'll do this on the same layer. This is basically a color adjustment layer where I do little gradients. And then I'll just basically paint from the top down. See that? Look what that does. And then I go in the opposite direction. I go more toward yellow. And I go really intense, really bright. I'll turn the brush size down. And I'm going to go opposite, like I showed you at the beginning of the video, the other stream, the failed stream. May it rest in peace. And I'm going to just color the opposite end of the highlight. And this makes the eyes like scream. Like they're super, super intense. And I go a step further. Now this is not realistic, but it does look rad. I picked the color of the inner portion of the eye, and I'm going to brighten it up to about there, and I'm going to use a really soft brush. I'm going to go to an airbrush. And I basically am going to just fill in kind of in a fashion here in the middle. Just get a little bit of a glow within the pupil. This probably isn't even all that visible on the stream. See what happens there? And if you want to go really crazy with the stuff, you can color the lines, and do stuff like that. Yeah, I think actually just one thing I want to just show one more thing here is how I'm gonna color these. I'll do it on the same layer, and whenever you're doing like a gem, gradients are your friend, and just remember that they move in the opposite direction of the light. It's really all you have to remember. They move in the opposite direction of the light. So I'll show you how quick and easy this is to do. Something very simple. It'll look like a gemstone. So I'll switch back to my brush and I'll just do my gradient from the top down, right? So it gets softer as it goes down, or lighter as it goes down. That's actually, well, no, actually that's pretty good. And then on top of everything, over the line even, I'm going to grab my light color, whatever it's going to be. In this case, I'll just have it be white. And I'll turn the intensity way up. And you can basically draw in like a highlight. And, you know, you can do it wherever you want. But the idea is you want to have the highlight. It generally would follow the contour. Of whatever the shape is, but the idea is as light hits it, it passes through in the same way the eye works. I'll figure this out probably tomorrow. But yeah, just have some sort, because it's tricky because there's a realistic way to do this and then there's a stylized way, and you want to make sure that you're using the same methodology. Yeah. All right. So yeah, there you go. That's kind of a look at it, and you can see it's different. It's different from this design, but I think if I were to turn her into a comic like this, not that I am, just to be clear, but this might be something kind of like how I would do it. And there's a lot more tricks that I would want to put into this. I don't know that I could do this style exactly on every page because it is really time consuming. It's harder than you could too because the characters are so deep. They're so what's the word I'm looking for? They're very elegant in the lines, whereas they're kind of big blocky shapes, so it's a little bit easier. But anyway, yeah. What does everybody think? Is this kind of a cool thing? Do we want to do more of these? Because I've had a lot of fun, and I think it would be really cool to do more of these. I don't know if I like that blush after all. Maybe I'll try just turning that off. Anyway, there's a lot more that I want to show with these, and in general, I'm trying to kind of figure out a good equilibrium with these, how to do these live streams without giving away stuff. And I think this is actually a really good idea in general, just to kind of work on other things, as a break or whatever. But I want to stay regular with them, so make sure that you are, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do. You know how it goes. You subscribe and all the obnoxious things that people tell you to do. Just pretend I said it, but do it here. Subscribe to my channel. Go to follow me on. Just do all